KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, this is June 17th, 2021. This is Brian coming at you with the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 56 already. Episode 56. We're going to talk about NXT's TakeOver, but first, before we dive into all that, let's see what Mr. Eric Todd is doing.
Oh, you know, same old. Son had his graduation ceremony last Sunday, so that was a cool little get-together. Went out to lunch after that, and now we're already in the planning stage for his graduation party. So,
Oh, boy.
been a busy couple weeks on my end.
Yeah, I'm getting in the mix of summer here myself. Lots of stuff going on. Kids got dance recitals and stuff, so that's my excitement, running the girls around, getting dance recitals going. But anyways, that is that. Enough about our boring lives. We're going to talk wrestling. And we watched NXT's TakeOver, right, Eric?
Oh, yeah, we've been skipping out on the AEW stuff lately. Not only have they moved it, which seems, God, at this point, it seems permanent, to Friday nights at 10 p.m., but they have completely given up as far as content. AEW, from what I heard, has just been garbo. So we'll see if they can bounce back from this.
Yeah, it's been. I can't even figure out why they're still on Wednesdays or not on Wednesdays now. Why they're still on Fridays is what I'm trying to spit out, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know what's going on and why they're pushing it over there, but doesn't seem to be. It hasn't even been drawing me in to like, oh, I'll go on and catch up and do a DVR watch. I'm always busy Friday night, so it never works with me that way. And I haven't even really caught up that way. Just some social media catching up on what they have going on, and it still doesn't excite me.
No, something big happened. Oh, there was like a collar match or something recently with Dustin Rhodes and that big fucking wild-haired motherfucker, Nick Camarado or something.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, Nick
So,
Camarado.
yeah, I guess that was the big thing that went on, but I don't even just saw that on Twitter that people were mad at Dustin Rhodes for winning, and I was like, oh, all right, moving on.
Next. Well, before we dive in and tear all of that apart, usually you've got a little bit of what we call the news for us. You got any news?
I got some news, but first we need to hit that swirly boy.
Dun, 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 dun. It's time for the news. What you got?
The news. All right, speaking of AEW, our boy Mark Henry, he's only been over there a few weeks, and he's already making moves. He has a serious interest in bringing Braun Strowman over to AEW. And Mark Henry did an interview with TMZ. He said there's interest on both sides, both from AEW and Braun Strowman, but they really can't have a serious discussion until that whole 90-day no-compete clause is up. But I got a quote from Mr. Henry here, and he says, super high on my list. It's not an all Mark Henry decision, but there's already interest on both sides. Hopefully, by the time he's allowed to wrestle in August, I think the middle of August, then we could have a serious conversation about how contractual things of that nature. But right now, there's interest on both sides.
Well, of course there's interest on both sides. The man wants to work, and AEW wants somebody who's a name. Why wouldn't you? If you can afford him, I guess.
Right. Who knows if he's sticking to that $1 million price tag that he was getting from WWE. One would think if he was willing to come down from that, WWE would have just re-signed him.
Right. Unless they're going to get him with some minimal travel stuff. I don't know. It seems weird. It's just weird in general. I don't know. Anyways, we'll talk about more about it. But this whole contract thing with WWE is just strange. They fire you, but you still have a 90-day no-compete clause. I can see if you leave, but you just said I can't work. And now I can't work for you, but I'm not allowed to work for anybody else either.
So I wonder if they're getting paid for that 90 days. You think so?
That would be the only way that I would want it in the contract if I was writing a contract.
Yeah. But actually, that brings me up. I didn't put it in my news stories, but there are some of the most recently released talent are trying to wriggle their way out of that 90-day no compete clause. So,
Probably
and
not getting paid.
WWE seems like okay with it, I guess. They've done it in the past. So we'll see. We might see some names hitting TNA and AEW a little sooner than we think.
Yeah, I'm I guess kind of on the topic of that. Well, rumors are a swirling, and if you watch Tuesday night NXT, Samoa Joe's back. There's a little news that I got for you.
Yeah, Samoa Joe just re-signed with WWE here. Let me see here. And he is now, spoiler alert, he is now William Regal's general manager enforcer. William Regal, of course, felt a little deflated and feels after 7 years he's let NXT get out of control and there's been too much bedlam. And now Samoa Joe steps back into that role and he is going to enforce the rule of William Regal.
That's a whole weird thing, right? They let him go from his other contract and now brought him back. So I'm guessing it must be for less.
Well, it might have something to do with that, or there was a ton of buzz. I think we talked about it last week, where a ton of people inside WWE, once they heard he was released, were like, no. Y'all fucked up.
Especially Triple H, I heard, was one of those guys.
Yeah. So maybe that might be a rare case of WWE actually admitting to making a mistake and fixing it as soon as they could.
Looking at Joe as a number, as an annual salary versus the person that he is and can be when he's healthy and good to go.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not into the GM storylines and Forcer storylines, anything like that anymore. It's just, it's hard to suspend disbelief nowadays.
That they actually have a power, that William Regal and Samoa Joe are wielding an iron fist, and they're the ones making matches in the back, and it's not Triple H and his string of guys that they have producing the show.
Right. Back in the day when feuds seemed a little bit more realistic and whatnot, and we were younger, it was easier to fall into it. But nowadays, it's just kind of like, all right, now we know as Smarks, Samoa Joe's just there to be on TV and to make money.
Right. I think it's a good spot for him to be on TV and continue to be on TV while he's not medically cleared to wrestle yet, for whatever the reasons are. I'm not sure on his medical reasons. I think it was something to do with his neck. But it's a good spot to be because when you do get cleared, people haven't forgot about you. So it's easy to come back and jump into a performing role.
Yeah, definitely. It's good for Joe. I think even a GM enforcer role in WWE is better than anything AEW or Impact could have did with him.
Oh,
so
100.
For sure, it's a win for Joe.
Right. Well, any other news floating by your eyeballs?
Yeah, John Cena pretty much confirmed that he will be back in WWE. Nobody knows if it's short-term, long-term, what his capacity is going to be, but he did do an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and John Cena said, I very much look forward to wearing jorts again. It's been too long. Chris Van Vliet replied, I mean, it's not a matter of if you're coming back to WWE, it's a matter of when. And John Cena says, you're absolutely correct.
Oh, I mean, I don't find that as a huge, huge surprise because, I mean, he is WWE. You know, he carried that flag and carried that company for so long. I never really pictured him as gone. I just pictured him as, like, slowly becoming a part-time guy and always still willing to step back in. Kind of like The Rock. The Rock's not done ever. He's just goes away, and then when they need him and it makes sense, they can bring him back, and it'll always work. For one, both of those two knuckleheads will always stay in shape. So you're not going to get some guy that goes off, and then you're like, "Buh!"
Coming back looking like the Iron Sheik.
So that's always the good news with those two.
Yeah, it was just interesting over the past couple months though, because John Cena is getting bigger movie roles now. Fast 9, obviously his most recent endeavor. So you never knew if he was going to go the way of The Rock, where The Rock, shit, what's he come back every 5 years or so? He's like a goddamn cicada. And so, but I don't know. With John Cena, he's a little more of a company guy. And so he might be around in a little more prominent role, I would think, when he makes his return.
Sure, I don't see him being able to be a guy that can pop in for a night and then disappear. Like, if he's going to come in, he's going to be like, hey, what am I here for? How long? What's the program? And then, run through that storyline and finish it out to the very end. It won't just be a one-night, two-night thing. It'll be a full month or a couple months maybe.
Yeah, that's Cena. He's got red and black running through his veins. And then speaking of The Rock, man, these stories are just falling right into each other. So somebody tweeted out, in your opinion, what's the most important match in WWE history? And interesting take from Dwayne Johnson here. He says Hogan versus Sheik, New York City, Madison Square Garden, 1984. Seminal match with historic implications and a legit bounty thrown in the mix. Now, my question with this is, how could anybody say anything other than Hogan, Andre, WrestleMania 3?
I think he's looking at the match in wrestling as a wrestler, not as pop culture. Andre Hogan was pop culture.
Right, that put WWE on the worldwide map.
Yeah, that was like, and everybody knew what wrestling was. Now, as a wrestling fan, as a wrestler, Sheik, Hogan, that was starting to tear apart the God dang it, what the heck are those things called? The territories. That was like the real murder nail in the coffin of the territories. Vince had already been murdering them, right? Tearing apart, picked apart AEW, AWA, and then all of the the southern territories started plucking the guys out. So to me, that was kind of maybe what he's going for. Is it was like, this is it, this is the WWE, this is WWF. We're here for it. It's here to stay. We're taking over this son of a bitch.
And this bounty that Rock's talking about here, if I remember correctly, was that the bounty where Vern Gagne paid Iron Sheik to break Hogan's leg because Hogan had just jumped ship from AWA and went to work for Vince?
That was the rumor I've always heard, is that Vern and the AWA, the Nick Bockwinkel, whoever else was over there in the AWA, was like, break his leg and we'll pay you this. And from what I understand, he said yes, but then Vince said, lay down and do the job, and I'll pay you this. He said, oh, all right. I'll take Vince's money. Laid down, did the job to the jabroni, the son of a bitch. He humbled him. He could. And the Sheik did the job for Hogan.
Yeah, and he's talked about that in many an interview. I just wanted to make sure my timeline was lined up. So, yeah, by all means, certainly an important match with Hogan hopping over to work for Junior here. But
imagine the butterfly effect.
Opinion,
sorry, go ahead. Finish out yours.
In my humble opinion, it's still not going to top Hogan Andre.
Imagine the butterfly effect, though, of Sheik does break his leg.
That would have been a wrap on Hulkamania, and the whole landscape of wrestling would be different, because who would Vince put in that spot? Randy Savage?
The Sheik?
Steamboat?
Makes the Sheik the guy.
I think at that point, Sheik was already sucking down crack rocks. I don't know how much longer he would have lasted.
Yeah, that would have changed everything, right? Imagine if he would have said, screw it, I'll break his leg for $10,000 or whatever it was. It would have just changed everything, but that's a whole other thing. But I'm with you with the big thing of the money and the viewership and the eyeballs on wrestling, Hogan Andre WrestleMania 3.
Yeah. That just made wrestling a worldwide phenomenon.
Simple as that. Everybody knew who it was.
Yep.
My mom knew who Andre the Giant was.
Exactly. Over in disgruntled employee news, Lana has made it apparent that she is going to spill the tea on WWE. And I have a quote from her saying, "I look forward to standing up and speaking out on things that for years I've been silent about." And that's talking about the questionable treatment her and other women have endured, including her little stint where she was thrown through a table for 2 months straight every week by Nia Jax. No payoff to the storyline. And many, many people feel that that was sending a message to Miro for jumping ship, or not jumping ship, but
Leaving.
going to AEW. Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. What can you say? Like, the news, the internet is just full of stuff every day of topics on the WWE and what's happening. What real deep, dark secret can you have?
Right. Is it going to be better than Mickey James Garbage Bag Gate 2021?
Probably not. It can't
It'll probably just be a ripple in the pond, not a Hogan broken leg 1984.
Yeah, we're not changing the landscape here.
Right. Renee Young and John Moxley had their baby last week, and Renee Young is going to take a little break from her podcasting and other endeavors, and her first guest host of her podcast, because her podcast will go on, will be none other than John Moxley, filling in the shoes and taking over the mic.
For some reason, I picture him like a chimp at a computer. Just very, like, screaming and yelling. Like, somebody else has to do the brunt of the technical stuff. They just got to say, okay, 3, 2, 1, talk! And then he'll talk for a couple hours, and they'll probably chop it up and edit it up and throw it out on the internet. But I don't see him being an internet guy. I don't see him being a computer fella, knowing how to record things and set up cameras and such.
Hopefully they strap a mic to his face or give him the Britney Spears mic or something, because he's always bobbing and weaving and pacing back and forth. You're not going to be able to hear a damn thing he says.
Yeah, that was, speaking of John Moxley, did you see Matt Cardona made his little debut over there in Game Changer Wrestling against Nick Gage?
Yeah.
And he
imitating Mox and doing the Stevie Wonder head wave and all that jazz.
He did a damn good job.
Yeah.
And then he even gave him the Dirty Deeds, or whatever they're calling his finishing move these days. They change the name all the time, Death Rider, and then pulled it off, and it was Zack Ryder. No, given the Death Rider. No, Matt Cardona underneath there, and he's gonna have a death match or something with Nick Gage. Cool.
Yeah. Cool. I really don't.
I just saw that.
I don't give a shit about Zack Ryder, man. He could have been huge in AEW, and now he's just gonna go do garbage death matches. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't use him in any crossover, because he signed with Impact. And why there was he was wrestling over there, so why there was no crossover between Impact and AEW with him? I mean, you're using everybody else, right? The invisible door is open, and you're leaving out some superstars, but not my decision. I think it's dumb, and he's going to go over there and do that Game Changer Wrestling. I think the Game Changer Wrestling stuff's pretty cool, but I think when you're crossing styles, it doesn't make sense. So you're going to put Matt Cardona in there with, Nick Gage in a death match. Cool. What's the point?
Right. The only thing I can think of is if he's not necessarily after money, but he's just after notoriety. He can get so much heat as a heel going against Nick Cage, because he's the polished WWE guy, almost the same thing as ECW's One Night Stand with the if Cena wins we riot type thing. He's the John Cena being plucked into ECW. Yeah.
Sometimes you just worry about those death matches and things get out of hand and things take it too far. We all saw Nick Gage's dark side of the ring. And so get your arm sliced off and your neck cut because you're being an idiot and he doesn't like you for some reason. So hopefully everybody's safe and comes home in one piece.
Right. And then my final story of the week, not a huge one, but Scott Hall did an interview and he showed his gratitude for Eric Bischoff for kind of doing this, starting the whole NWO thing for WWE, for keeping it going for all these years. Scott Hall says he still, to this day, makes six figures just on NWO merch. And everywhere he goes, he's treated like royalty. They have cars pick him up. People pay for flights for him just to do autograph signings and all that. And all on NWO's back. He's still making a hell of a living just on T-shirts.
Why wouldn't you? God bless. He rode the roller coaster of life. He came off and he got off the ride, and he's one. He didn't get off at the bottom or the top of the hill and jump. So he did it right, and he's healthy and good and making money. And why not? Man, if I can make money off of just that and T-shirts, and it's, people go and get Too Sweet tattooed on their arm. What kind of freak does that? What kind of guy in his late 30s buys an NWO T-shirt when they're on sale? Buy one, get one for $1. Who would do that?
Yeah, what a bunch of assholes out there, man. Or NWO flags. I know right now it's behind the Made in Detroit flag right now, but when's the last time NWO was together in a match? At least 25 years ago.
Well,
right?
they did that one reunion at WrestleMania when it was Sting and Triple H fought, and then the NWO, Hall and Nash and Hogan came out and fought the remaining members of DX, and they did that little thing. But other than that,
it's been a hot minute. So yeah, big ups to Hogan, Nash, Six, and Razor here. They're all making that mailbox money on NWO merch.
I walk out and open up my mailbox of six figures a year.
No doubt. And for that, Brian, it's a wrap on the news.
A wrap on the news? This was the KayFabe Smark News. 6 figures off selling T-shirts, and he hasn't wrestled in 15 years. God bless him. God blew my mind.
The only thing he's been wrestling is addiction.
He has. Hopefully he's put the finishing move on that. Well, after we do the news, it's always time to do a little overrated, underrated. This time we're going to do debuts. So we're just going to overrate or underrate the debut. Don't really worry about the guy. You can take the guy into consideration, but you know what I'm saying here. All right. Overrated, underrated, the debut of Y2J Chris Jericho from the Countdown to the Millennium on Monday Night Raw.
How'd I know this was going to be the first one? This was I would say this is an underrated debut, the debut of Y2J, because this was the pinnacle of WWE when they were at their best, being a fine-tuned machine when it came to debuting people. The internet wasn't incredibly popular by this time. There wasn't a bunch of smarks giving away spoilers and reading dirt sheets, spreading the news like wildfire. So this right here was the absolute best way you could debut somebody. So no matter how much you praise Y2J's debut, shit talking The Rock in the ring, you're never going to be able to overrate it. It's always going to be underrated.
Yeah, that was my favorite moment. That's a groundbreaking moment in wrestling for me. That was just like, I popped so good. The debut of Brodus Clay. Do you remember that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember.
Remember they did all the He's Coming, the monster, and then he came out and was just dancing like a fucking giant Teletubby. It was the wackest, most stupidest thing.
I'm going to say that's overrated, Brian.
It was terribly overrated.
Because they wanted Brodus Clay to be the biggest baby face, the biggest goofball. Kids love this fat bastard baby face, and then he was just a turd.
He's the Funkasaurus, and they build him as he's coming, the monster, and they did all those vignettes about it. That was my goofy one I threw in there. That one was just for fun. Overrated, underrated, the debut of Eric Bischoff on WWE in around 2002 when Vince brought him the unspoken, the nemesis of WWE. They brought him out on Monday Night Raw to be the, quote, again, GM.
That is going to be another underrated moment in my book there, because people still talk about that. Not even assholes with podcasts, just wrestling fans in general talk about that debut of Bischoff crossing that line, because Vince hated Eric Bischoff with every bone in his body, and nobody thought that would ever happen.
Right. For the right price. That shows what Vince will do for his own TV, right?
Right.
Overrated, underrated, the debut of the Radicals on Monday Night Raw. Eddie Guerrero, Saturn, Dean Malenko, jumping ship from WCW, telling them to hit the bricks and walking out on Monday Night Raw.
So that was a huge moment, but I think it was overrated just because WCW invading WWE as a whole was just kind of a fart in the wind, because you had no Hogan, you had no Nash, you had no Hall.
Oh, when they actually did the WCW, when they bought out WCW?
Oh, I'm mixing my moments, aren't I?
So they jumped ship just in front of that. So WCW was still a thing. The night before at WCW's pay-per-view, Chris Benoit hands the title over and says, "We're leaving." And then there was no champion in WCW. A couple months later, they buy him out, and then it finalizes. But this is just the Radicals leaving at the pretty much height. I mean, you had Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Saturn, Dean Malenko walking out pretty high in WCW at the time, and just walking out and showing up on WWE TV.
Yeah, okay, now thanks for clearing that up, but I'm still going to say it was overrated, because these guys were top of the food chain in WCW, but me, as a guy who didn't watch WCW, when they come over to WWE, I was just like, oh, cool, more guys to ride the mid-card there. And I was even at the show where Eddie Guerrero broke his arm doing the frog splash off the top rope there, and now I appreciate Eddie Guerrero and how talented he was. But back then, I was just shrugging my shoulders like, another dickhead broke his arm.
I was a WCW guy. I was all in professional wrestling across the board, still am. Don't really get too caught up on any one brand. But I watched WCW, kept up on the storylines, and when they walked out on WWE TV and they showed them, I didn't care, because they still weren't even being used there properly. So right. I didn't even know really what they could do. So and I think it also gets overshadowed because, I mean, two of them passing away, right? With Benoit, right. Guerrero, you're going, oh my God, they came out, they did this thing. So I'm with you. I think it's an overrated moment as well.
And for some reason, it's tough for me to admit this, Brian, but out of those, well, let's include Malenko there. I never thought Malenko was going to be a megastar, but with those three, Guerrero, Benoit, and Perry Saturn, my money was on Perry Saturn.
I knew
to be the big star.
I knew you were going to say it, because you have a bad habit of picking those guys, don't you?
And I'm a body guy, too. Perry Saturn just came out looking like one mean-ass fucking Popeye, didn't he?
Yeah, he was jacked up, and then he went and got high on meth and tattooed his face. And the poor bastard lives in a garbage can now, I believe. All right, overrated or underrated, the debut at Survivor Series of The Undertaker.
That was against Hogan, wasn't it? Or
no, it was just in a traditional.
Oh, it was in the Survivor Series.
That was right. Like the following year, he had that match with Hogan.
Yeah. I think it was an overrated debut. Because he just kind of was just another part in the machine at that point. Goofy gimmicks were a dime a dozen in 1991, and Undertaker coming in, at the time, you don't feel the presence of what the Undertaker's going to become. He was just another big fucking goof in my book. So his debut didn't break any ground in my book.
I agree. I think it's overrated because of what he became. He's not overrated, but you look back at that going, oh my God. Yeah, okay, it was But imagine if they hired him to be Nails. No, but think about it. Then we would be like, when he debuted against the Big Boss Man and beat him up with the nightstick, we'd be like, can you believe that that was the Nails we know now? Because Mark would have been Mark, right? He is going to be who he is in the locker room anyways, but slap any gimmick you want on him. He would have made it right. And the Nails gimmick would just have been retired after 30 years at Survivor Series. So
you're saying you think it's hard for me to say.
I'm just saying because there were so many of those wacky debuts that if it just would have hit with anybody else, we would be talking about it too. But we forgot about all the other ones, but we put this one on the pedestal because it turned out to be The Undertaker.
Yeah, and all jokes aside here, do you think Mark Calloway could have literally carried the Nails gimmick for 30 years?
But look what he did with The Undertaker, right? He wore gray dish gloves, like he was going to wash dishes, and made coffins, and then he became the purple Undertaker, right? When he broke his face, like that Phantom version of The Undertaker. Then he became the Dead Man, and then he was this character of The Undertaker, the American Badass, the Biker Taker, to what we know now as he retired as the MMA Undertaker. It took many evolves, right? Could he done that with any other character? Probably.
Oh, I was just asking your opinion. I think he could have carried the Nails character for 30 years.
My opinion's yes. The long story of what I'm getting at is yes. He could have evolved that character 10 ways from Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So
all right.
There you go. That is overrated, underrated debuts.
Doom, doom, doom.
I need a sweeper for my thing here for the debuts. Get to your news thing. All right, NXT TakeOver. What'd you think? Where you
in
at?
your house?
In your house. I got tongue-tied. Never mind. Go on.
All right, another NXT TakeOver in your house nostalgia roller coaster here. Todd Pettengill back for this one, and I didn't throw this in the news because nobody really cares, but Todd Pettengill is trying to weasel his way back into WWE for a gig, and he's all right, man. I don't hate Todd Pettengill that much. He's kind of annoying when he's trying to be the over-the-top early 90s fucking goofball, but he's all right.
I give him the benefit of the doubt acting like an idiot when he comes in to get paid to act like an idiot. So, Triple H says, hey, come in and act like you did in 1990. It was funny. They're playing with the karate fighters and stuff. All that was hilarious. Todd Pettengill is Todd Pettengill. He was a good, mediocre interview guy backstage. Just that guy that he wasn't part of any storyline. He didn't get involved in anything. He was just like, the mic stand, which is fine.
Hey, he's still better than Alex Marvez. That's all I got to say about that. But we're not going to get too deep into any in-between segments and storyline recaps and all that. This is a pay-per-view. It's a long show. We're going to get to the meat and potatoes of it. We're going to talk about the matches, and we are going to start out with the winner-takes-all 6-man tag team match. We've got MSK and Bronson Reed taking on the entirety of Legado del Fantasma.
I was excited for this match because it was a different way to defend the titles. So I was looking forward to it. I was decently happy that they opened up the pay-per-view with it. Nice amount of guys in there. You get some some fast movers. You get some technical wrestling. You can mix it together. You get a lot of guys. I thought it had all the potential to be entertaining. Did it 100% deliver? We'll discuss.
That was the theme of this pay-per-view, Brian, was tons of potential, tons of effort put into these matches, and the choreography and everything of these matches. There was so much effort put in, but just execution overall ended up kind of being a dud. And that just seemed to be the theme for me on this Sunday night.
Yeah, I thought they all, like you said, they had the anticipation and just flat. There was a lot of flatness, a lot of dud.
Yeah, everything just seemed too cleanly put together. So in this match, obviously we've got Bronson Reed the big monster, and then you've got the smaller guys, MSK, and then the two smaller guys from Legado taking out Escobar there, because Escobar is the powerhouse in that faction. And we start out with MSK, and they're taking on the two smaller Phantasmo guys. And it's just right off the bat, they're automatically right into a choreographed routine. They don't work their way into it. It's just automatically off the bat. Let's get our shit in. Let's do a gymnastics routine. Olympics are in a month in Japan. We're trying to get our floor exercise gold medals.
Yeah, it just, like, I think it's the best way that you're saying it, is this match felt mechanical.
Right. And I got to give the VIP to the production truck on this one, because let's face it, MSK they're impressive with their athleticism, but their just straight up work is a little rough. The strikes and the kicks and everything, they're missing by a mile. And I'm giving the VIP to the production truck, because every time a kick was 8 inches away from their opponent's face, camera cut like that. and so it didn't look as bad as it was. With shoddy camera work, this would have been an ugly, ugly match.
So you're saying if it was the TNT camera guys that would have been working that night that didn't care to be there, so yeah, they would have been looking miserable.
Right. So we get our gymnastics in, and then we get Bronson Reed in there, and just more mechanical, methodical construction to this match here. What do you expect from Reed? He's going to show size and power. And what does he display? Nothing but size and power. And without breaking a sweat, the guy doesn't take one move from any member of Legado del Fantasma. He's all offense. He's not breathing hard. He's not hurt. And just almost on cue, just tags MSK right back in and back to the gymnastics.
That's exactly the same way that I felt. They would put Bronson Reed in there. I almost said Brodus Clay because we were talking about him earlier in the Bees, and he's a giant guy. Bronson Reed, you throw him in there, and he would just kind of do what he did, but there was no flair to anything in this match. There was no, it was just like he comes in, okay, he does his spots, and then he went out, and then they brought the other guys in, and they just kind of kept trading. Instead of doing the, the Money in the Bank style match where we always talk about they're going to go lay on the outside of the ring for a little bit, 2 guys in, 2 guys out, 2 guys in, 2 guys out. This was the same idea. It was just, these guys in, these guys out, tag in, tag out, tag in, tag out. This is my cue. Like, you ring a bell. Ding! Okay, time's up. Some of the tags didn't make sense. It just felt, okay, that's my time. That's all I got for you. Like a stand-up comic. That's my time. Have a good night. Just I'm gonna
Precisely.
Get out.
They got a list of moves to do, and then they tag out. There was no reason for the tags. And, yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. It was like they were doing a set list. And then they just had to jump the shark, Brian. Because we get MSK and Phantasmo in there, and they're doing their high flyer shit, and then we get 4 consecutive dives, dive after dive after dive, and then we top it off with a 5th dive from Bronson Reed himself, and
who not only dives and takes out the entire opposing team, he takes out his team. They all go. And then he stands up and celebrates.
Right. Well, they needed 5 guys to catch his ass, so somehow they put his own team in there for collateral damage, and he just takes them out like goddamn Kingpin bowling tournament there.
It was just, I was like, I just laughed when I saw that. I said, of course, he's going to line up for this dive, and then he does, and everybody gets taken out. Then he stands up and does the big monster dive, and you're going, you took out 2 of your guys. Imagine a hockey player, taking a huge check into the other team, but in the meantime, you fling him into your goalie, and now your goalie's injured, and you're, celebrating. You're like, well, you might not want to, take out your goalie there, fella. Same idea. You just
Right.
murdered your own team and then celebrate. Didn't even check if they were all right. Didn't add to the story by any means. Just celebrated.
No, we're just getting our shit in. We need 5 dives in a row. And then it just continues to go down from there. So we need Bronson Reed to show more power. And I get it. This is an impressive spot if you can do it naturally. But he's got one of the Phantasmo boys on his shoulders. One of the other Phantasma guys climbs up on the top rope, stands there waiting patiently for Bronson Reed to walk over to him, and so he can lay gently on his partner's back. And that way, Bronson Reed has 2 Phantasma guys on his back, so he can do a giant Samoa drop. And it's just okay that you saw it being put together.
You didn't even see it being put together. You saw the guy get on his back.
He manually, without any coercion or anything, just climbed on his buddy's back.
This looks like he's in the corner, like sitting on the corner of the ropes, like doing the wobbles. And then Bronson Reed walks over with his other buddy up there, and he just goes, "Oh, that looks like fun. I'll just climb on your back." And then he does the march around the ring, Ryback style, and Samoa drop, boom. Really? The guy that weighs 358 pounds can carry around 2 guys that weigh 160? Cool.
Impressive.
Wow.
The best move of this match, it went by quick, lightning speed, was Escobar getting that Michinoku driver on Bronson Reed. It happened really fast. Understandably, it had to. He's not going to stand there all day with 380 pounds in the air. So I was happy to see that, though. Escobar is impressive, man. He's not absolutely humongous himself, but he's strong as an ox.
He is impressive. I'm starting to come around on Escobar. I didn't care for him in the beginning. And then now I'm starting to understand the character and where they're going with it and what he's about. So I'm digging on Escobar a little bit here.
Right. Escobar is definitely making his way up. When we used to talk about NXT every other week or so, when that was a normal thing probably 6-7 months ago, I could give 2 shits about Escobar and Phantasma, but now I still don't care about his 2 little buddies. But Escobar's climbing the ranks for me. And at this point, we're working towards our finish. We're hitting our crescendo here. We need to see things start coming together. We get another contrived spot where Escobar just decides to leave the ring. No real reason at this point. He needs those coveted belts. He has to hold the belt in his hand, and he holds Bronson Reed's North American Championship, and he just screams at the camera and just waits awkwardly so our boy Bronson Reed can just hockey check his ass right through the barricade. That takes Escobar out of the mix, and then we can get the other 2 guys beat up. One of them disappears. MSK hits their finish on one of the Phantasma boys, and then Bronson Reed climbs his gigantic ass on the top rope and hits a scary splash. I would not want to be on the other end of that one, Rampa.
Yeah, I definitely don't know if I even working, I'm not sure if I would, you know what I'm saying? If listen, I'll take care of you. You're going to be fine. Just lay there and let me do the rest. And you're like, oof. Hey, I don't know. That's a big boy just to be falling off the ropes on you there, but it's impressive. It's a sight to see. There's no question about that. I just hope they don't take this Bronson Reed character and make him to be like he's just unbeatable just because he's big. I want a little more to him, and they're kind of going down that road. It's a little scary because it's real easy to get lost in that road. Like, hey, I'm big and I'm strong. Well, yes, but what else are you?
I mean, there's Brock Lesnar big, and then there's Bronson Reed big. I guess that'd be the best example. He's just a big potato in a singlet. But Bronson Reed gets the pin here. Everybody retains their belts in this one. And then we move on to our first girls match of the night. We've got Xia Li taking on Mercedes Martinez.
Oof.
Boy, this is just as goofy as they come. You got Mercedes. She does her entrance, blah, blah, blah. Xia Li comes out looking like she's auditioning for the next Mortal Kombat movie, puts on a whole ass sword play display demonstration here. And at this point, I'm like, is this Glacier? You remember Glacier coming out looking like a Sub-Zero reject?
I almost put him in my debuts. As I was looking up, I was doing research on debuts, and he was like a big one where it was like a big kind of dud of a debut where they were just trying to put out Glacier. That made me laugh.
Welcome to Glacier 2.0. This is fucking Xia Li trying to look like Katana, and it's goofy as fuck. And she doesn't intimidate me, and I couldn't see her intimidating a timid squirrel in the woods.
This thing was a snooze fest.
Yeah. I mean, the functionality was there. You had Xia Li. She's playing the heel. She's playing it up 100%, working dirty, pulling Martinez's ribs against the ring post there. We get our back and forth. Martinez regains control. I think it's her finish that she hits for a 2 count. I don't know enough about Mercedes and Martinez to know what her finish is. And then she hits this backdrop on Xia Li outside of the ring. And that was a oof moment. I got to give her props on that bump. She may look like a discount Katana in the bargain bin at Dollar Tree, but she can take a back bump like a motherfucker.
You take a back bump outside the ring like that. That's impressive. It was that can be impressive. But this thing, like you said, this is another one that just felt. For one, I wasn't excited about this match to begin with. We kind of teased and made fun of it last week because of the big debut for their go home show about it, and we were like, they made it seem like it was such a big to do that Xia Li was back and Martinez is in the ring and she gets beat up. Like, I just didn't care. Even that didn't draw me in. Like,
right. That's the theme of this match. I just didn't care. Xia Li ends up sneaking in a big kick. She gets the win, and then it just. I feel like I'm going to be repeating myself in this one. Then it just goes downhill from there, Brian. So Xia Li attempts to hit Mercedes Martinez with a chair. Martinez kicks her in the leg or whatever, takes her chair away, beats up Xia Li, beats up her manager guy with the most ginger, shitty chair shots I've seen since me and my buddies used to hit each other with padded chairs in high school. And then Xia Li's master, Mei Yi, finally gets out of her throne, and she slowly, methodically approaches Mercedes Martinez, grabs her by the throat, and fucking whips her off the stage into the hockey glass. And that was our finale, Brian. That was our crescendo.
I had got up for a second to go grab myself something to drink and came back to this debacle of the master that they never showed who she was. So I was like, who the hell is this? And just wearing the mask, and just she had superpowers and could throw people, and like it just was like, whatever, this is insane. What's happening? And then they never finished it up. They were just like, well, and then they just went backstage and then cut to commercial, do a vignette for the next match, and Martinez is off in the hospital or something at the emergency clinic or whatever you're supposed to say.
She gets fucking Darth Vadered across the goddamn arena, and we're not even going to talk about it for the rest of the pay-per-view there.
Never again.
Some superhuman bitch who's apparently has Brodus Clay power in her right wrist. It's just whipping girls across the arena, and oh yeah, but $1 Million Man's putting his gold and diamond belt up for grabs.
Oh, we haven't spoke of Brodus Clay this much in about 10 years. I'm dying.
Funkasaurus is back, baby.
My best Brodus Clay, the only Brodus Clay story I have is you and I had went to a live Raw in Detroit. And I remember Brodus Clay coming out, and he's doing his dance, and they got the lights down and the disco balls going, right? And then he comes out to his entrance. He's dancing in the ring. They go to commercial. House lights come on, and they stop shining the light on the disco ball, and he just kind of stands there leaning in the corner. Clearly, he gets a 3, 2, 1. The lights go down. The light hits the disco ball, and he's still dancing as if he was dancing the entire time for us during the commercial break. And I'll just never forget watching him lean there against the ropes like, here it comes, and hey, dancing time. I'm the Funkasaurus.
Right. They couldn't afford to blow him up, make him dance for 2.5 minutes for the commercials. It would have been a wrap on the match. I would have had to do a schoolboy.
Shit. Anyways, we continue on. Do we move into the $1 Million Man as you spoke of?
Yes, we move into the $1 Million Man, presenting his $1 Million belt in an acrylic case with a red velvet backing there. And that is going to be up for grabs between Cameron Grimes and LA Knight. And this was our most solid match of the night, for sure.
L.A. Knight.
DDS.
He's a dentist, too. Yeah, this one had the most potential this one was built up pretty good. I fell into the trap of the storyline on this, so I felt that I invested some time into watching this evolve. And I was really looking forward to this. This one necessarily didn't fall flat. It was pretty good, actually. Anything you put with a ladder and let some guys go in there and beat the hell out of each other and kind of do dangerous shit is always entertaining.
Right, for sure. And I don't keep up on the NXT storylines as much as I should, being a professional podcaster here. So, as far as I knew, Cameron Grimes was always a heel. And then LA Knight is an obvious heel. He's gimmicked it up so well that you just look at him and you know he's a heel. So I was having trouble in this match trying to figure out who's babyface, who's heel, because when Cameron Grimes is in control of this match, he's taunting the shit out of LA Knight here. But then you kind of pick up on it that he's doing it in a goofy fashion, comedic fashion, and the audience is booing LA Knight to hell. So it's like, oh, okay, Cameron Grimes is a babyface now.
As soon as he obtained that, rich thing where he blew up buying GameStop stock and getting involved with all that and the Dogecoin to the moon, and he was already using to the moon, and then that took over, and it really took over as a babyface. That was kind of the turning point for him really being a babyface, and the crowd really took to him for whatever reason.
The crowd has there really been so I guess
they force fed us down the way to feel a certain way.
There we go. So yeah, they decided Cameron Grimes was a babyface and they shoved it down our throats, and apparently it works. He's a babyface. Yeah, I still get heel vibes from him. Now, one thing that kind of disappointed me about this match is the empty promises here. So LA Knight attempts on 3 or 4 different occasions to do absolutely devastating things to Cameron Grimes with that ladder, whether he's trying to drill him in the face with it or what have you. And Cameron Grimes just keeps avoiding these death-inducing situations here. So you see things that are like, holy shit, if he hits Cameron Grimes with that ladder in that way, he's going to be knocking out some teeth. But every single time, Cameron Grimes weasels his way out of it. So I was left a little disappointed in that matter.
Yeah, I thought they were going to build up to something. We do get a couple decent bumps in here, but I see what you're saying, where a lot of it was leaving us empty. Just, well, when's the big thing, this big monster thing, these death-defying moves and this murderous attitude of, do anything to win the belt. It just kind of, you didn't get some of the big stuff. As we look back at other ladder matches with the Dudleys and the Hardy Boys and such like that kind of left us going, holy shit.
Right. We definitely got some big bumps towards the end of this match. I guess the better way to word it is almost like LA Knight was attempting to do things that are impossible to do safely. So Cameron Grimes had no choice but to move out of the way. There's no way they were going to let these moves happen. I guess it would be the equivalent of me aiming a bow and arrow at your head, and you ducking out of the way. There's no way I'm going to shoot you in the face with a bow and arrow. You have to move
Right.
or not.
This is like when Shotzi Blackheart brought the toolbox into the ring for War Games, and you're like, well, you're going to murder people, or everybody's going to avoid being hit with the weapons you decided to bring in the ring.
There we go. Exactly. It's like swinging a pipe wrench at somebody. You know you're not going to take it to the dome. You have to move. It's a wrestling match. We get lots of good use of the ladders in this thing. LA Knight taking multiple flat back bumps on these ladders. One in the corner that looked amazing. He kind of landed on the back of his neck there. And then one of the expertly put up ladders from the barricade to the ring takes a nice flat back on that one. And then we're approaching our crescendo on this one. Cameron Grimes goes to get the gold ladder, and old Wade Barrett, that must be really heavy. That's a gold ladder. Ugh.
Just let it go. They just let it be theater of the mind, and you just say they have that just it's the gold. They didn't even have to bring it up. Just set it out there. It's a gold ladder. It fits the $1 Million Man. It has the dollar signs on it. Just, we know it's not a gold. Do you know how much a gold ladder would cost?
And that's exactly what was going through my head. Just let it go, Wade Barrett. We know the metaphor. We know what it represents. It's clearly gold spray paint. But Wade Barrett, he has to keep it going. That must be heavy. And then when Cameron Grimes picks it up effortlessly and carries it to the ring, Wade Barrett goes back to the well. Well, it must just be gold plated because he's not struggling with it like I thought he would. Is this shit done on purpose?
I don't know. That was bad. That was bad commentating there. So I don't know if he went off script or if he was being fed that one way or another. It stunk on ice.
That was rough. We get a Cameron Grimes big bump here. He ends up on the lighting rig at some point. Takes a big bump off of that. LA Knight. So we got Grimes taking control. He's at the top of the ladder. He's getting ready to get his $1 Million championship. All the pieces are fitting together. He's on the gold ladder, going to get the belt. LA Knight pushes the ladder over, and Cameron Grimes, bump of the night right here. That flat back onto that ladder was sickening. That thud.
This was the moment like they had kind of been teasing of the death-defying moment. So that was the definite big crescendo of like, I'm going to murder you with a ladder, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And they put that right in LA Knight's back pocket there of for a storyline and to be built on from a character that he will do what it takes to win.
Right. Grimes takes that bump, and then it's a wrap from there. You know he's not getting up. And LA Knight ends up grabbing the case. Ted DiBiase presents him with the belt, and we got a new $1 Million champion.
Yes, we do, for whatever that's worth.
It's the same as the FTW belt in my book.
Real close, real close.
And moving on from there, we got my girl, Raquel Gonzalez, the big bitch in NXT now, the big, strong ox, taking on Ember Moon, one of the better workers in NXT. And this match was another symbol of potential that gone wrong.
Yeah, they kind of let it into me when we spoke about last week with the Ember Moon hitting her after a 15-minute match, hitting Raquel Gonzalez with her shooting star neck breaker thing, whatever she calls it, the lunar effect or something. And she hits that move and beats her in like 30 seconds. So then, it takes the wind out of your sail for this match. Are they, it didn't draw me in. It just kind of, that moment pushed me away.
Yeah, definitely. So last week, Raquel Gonzalez, fresh as a daisy, takes one finisher from Ember Moon, and she's out. You got to call the corner on that one. But this time, we get a long-ass match between Ember Moon and Raquel Gonzalez, with Ember Moon hitting her finish multiple times and nothing but 2 counts. But this was another one that just followed the cookie-cutter path right here. Gonzalez showing her strength. Ember Moon selling her ass off for her. Ember Moon being sneaky and finding ways to offset Raquel Gonzalez's strengths. ends up being a little sloppy, timing being off, and I don't know whose fault it is. I'm gonna guess it's Raquel Gonzalez's fault just because she's a lot more green than Ember Moon here. Ember Moon's work usually as a whole are is pretty clean.
Yeah, this thing. What is Raquel Gonzalez's partner on the outside of the ring there? A little valet.
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai worked out well. I thought having her on the outside of the ring really added some flavor to the match because what was being delivered inside was always a little flat for me. So having her on the outside being involved in throwing feet on the ropes and doing that stuff, I thought helped out the match instead of taking away from it, which I usually get irritated with interferences all the time.
Most definitely. The work inside the ring, the fundamentals inside the ring were a bit on the sloppy side. Dakota Kai actually saved this match by adding story to it, to adding the heel tactics, adding the manager who's going to pull some dirty shit, some Bobby Heenan shit to get the job done here. And we see the epitome of that when Ember Moon hits her finish on Raquel Gonzalez. We think it's a wrap on the match. And Dakota Kai, very slyly, she sneaked that in awesome, very quickly, puts Raquel Gonzalez's foot on the ropes. And you're like, damn, that was smooth.
And
props to Dakota.
Props to Dakota, and also props to, we've already given the VIP once tonight, but the production team was on point. The camera was not hard on Dakota Kai coming around. It was focused on what was going on in the match, and she comes through the frame to get that on. So it looked like a very last-minute dive to get it up there. All put together very well for TV. How it looked live, I can't tell you. I wasn't there. But on TV, it looked great. And it was like, oh, my God, she got that thing at the last second there and saved the match. And then you get a run-in from your favorite person, Eric Todd.
Shitsy black fart. So, yeah, this thing happens just to get Dakota out of there so we can hit the ending of this match here. Shitsy comes out, and she starts a brawl with Dakota. And very, very quickly into their fist fight, they just fight back to the curtains, and it's just exit stage left for those two. Ember Moon ends up DDTing Raquel Gonzalez on the ramp, and that was a very visually very impressive looking. I don't know if it had to do with how shiny the ramp is, so it makes it look harder and that the bump's going to hurt more. I don't know what it was, but when Ember Moon hit that DDT on Raquel Gonzalez, I was just like, oof. That was rough.
Yeah. Good sound, good visual. It all just came together for that spot right there.
Yeah. Ember Moon has to drag Raquel Gonzalez to the ring for the pin attempt. Good planning on that one, giving her time to recover so she can kick out. Gonzalez ends up hitting the one-arm power bomb for the win.
How do you feel about that one-arm power bomb? I know you like Raquel Gonzalez. I don't dislike her either, but it's just I don't know how I feel about that finishing move.
It's impressive looking. It just the only thing is it requires help. There's no way you're getting a girl up that high with just pure strength.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Is it's very limiting on the wrong person in the ring too.
That's also you get a big girl like
Nia
that girl
Jax.
they just debuted.
Oh yeah,
in NXT.
Her too. Nia Jax. Getting somebody up is going to be rough. So, they haven't debuted a part 2 of our finishing move, a second one, if you will. Just a big boot that she can finish people with. But, that one-arm power bomb is her devastating move. I don't know. Seems like a little limiting on building upon there. But we shall see.
We shall see what they do with it. But Raquel Gonzalez just needs to get a little more polished, and she's gonna be a star, man.
For sure. I think she has the star potential going already just to tighten up the ring presence, and she'll be doing good. She's got the other stuff down. She has all the look. She can talk fairly well. She carries herself with a presence, adding her own style and flavor to things, really wearing the belt backwards and all this stuff works very well for her. Just got to tighten up some of those things in the ring.
Yeah, I see big things for Raquel Gonzalez. I don't know if she'll be in Rhea Ripley's up there with her in that echelon for me, But right now in NXT, I think this is exactly where she needs to be, where she can polish and hone her skills and be the top girl over there. They've already put the belt on her, so they didn't waste no time doing that. But
Right.
now she's got to earn the right to keep it.
Very, very true. And I think this is leading us up right into our main event, isn't it?
Yeah, this show, Brian, overall was 2 hours 42 minutes and just WWE based commercials for t-shirts and touring and everything else under the sun. Recaps and next week on NXT and this and that, and they just filled this thing with commercials. It overall seemed to fly by pretty quick and didn't seem to have too many matches.
Yeah, it went fairly well. The thing that it kept getting me caught up, I didn't get to watch it live, is that I kept forgetting like I could fast forward because they were WWE commercials. So I was getting lost in the moment of watching them.
Right. WWE really turned the knob to 11 on advertising on this one.
Yeah, I could have sped through it a little faster if I would have realized half the time that I was watching a commercial for something that's going to happen next week. But anyways, yeah, it did. It didn't seem like a lot of matches after you break it down. You know, the brass tacks of what it was.
And then moving on, what'd they call this thing? Did they call it a Texas tornado or
Fatal? I think it was a fatal 5-way.
Either way, this is a 5-man match, and all 5 men are allowed to do whatever they want. There's no tagging going on. So it's just a crazy, chaotic shit show is what we're getting here.
This I thought, because maybe the rest of it was just so flat for me. Nothing was like crazily amazing. The ladder match was pretty good, but this didn't actually seem that bad. Overall,
no,
it was a lot of nonsense, a lot of chaos, yes, but
all right. So this is another one. Potential is there. You got Karrion Kross in the ring. As far as a power guy in NXT, Karrion Kross is the guy. You got Adam Cole, which hands down is the guy. You got Kylo, one of the most fundamentally sound guys, a smooth worker, great with submissions. Kyle O'Reilly is a great guy. Johnny Gargano, personality is shit, but as an in-ring worker, he's fantastic. And then Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne, if he would drop the goddamn finger gimmick, would be leaps and bounds. Pete Dunne would be my favorite guy if he would just drop the finger gimmick. But overall, you got 5 amazing top-level performers in this match, and it's going to be hard to blow it, but you'll be surprised of my reason of how they blew it once we get later on into this match.
I like Pete Dunne. I don't mind the finger gimmick. I just don't want him to rely on it and only be that. Don't be the finger guy.
Don't be the finger bang guy.
First off, let's talk about Johnny Gargano's drip in the ring. His ring gear, coming out with that homage to the Heartbreak Kid and wearing that his get up when he comes out in there. That was pretty dope. And then the Axe and Smash shirt that Kyle O'Reilly had on. I may have to see if they have on WWE Shop.
Oh, they better have that on WWE Shop. They're missing out on some sales if they don't. But yeah, the drip was wet. The stage was slippery once they got through dripping all over.
And then even Pete Dunne in the fresh new white gear, you know, something different for a pay-per-view for an in-your-house. It was all well put together. Adam Cole, he had new music. Didn't care so much for it. It was okay. And then we'll go from there. The rest of it was all right.
Yeah, I would hate to see the inside of Pete Dunne's white singlet after he got done with this match, sweating off all that fake tanner.
Yeah, he does fake tan a lot. But so what was it about this match that put the stank in your mouth?
All right, the stank doesn't come till the end. Other than that, this is just a run of the mill. There's too many guys to get a great match. But WWE really puts their all into it. So you got Karrion Kross, which is all power, versus 4 smaller guys who rely on speed and submissions and whatnot. So WWE does their best to work with that. Kylo takes Karrion Kross out and we get a bunch of submission, joint manipulation shit going on between Kylo, Johnny Gargano, and Pete Dunne. And they're actually finding very creative ways to keep more than two guys involved in every single spot that's going on. And I was definitely impressed with that in that aspect.
Right. This had all the makings of having two guys in, three guys on the floor, two guys in, three guys on the floor, and just really like, okay, a waiting match.
Right. They flipped it. They had 3 or 4 guys involved in the ring at once, and they found creative ways to keep them moving, to keep them all interlocked with each other and whatnot, leaving 2 guys max, 1 guy most of the time out on the outside waiting for his cue. 9 times out of 10, that guy waiting on the outside was Karrion Kross. And, but, you know, that was kind of your only option. You're not going to have Karrion Kross in there doing a bunch of submission flippy pretzel twisting with Pete Dunne and Johnny Gargano and Kylo, But Karrion Kross ends up getting triple teamed and smashed through the in your house set, and he has to take another breather.
That seemed like a big like underlying theme of the Karrion Kross being pushed to the side, letting these other guys dance, if you will, and then Karrion Kross could come in and be that. It really made you feel like somebody else could steal this match, which is the thing, because then that makes it very exciting to go, Adam Cole could pin Kyle O'Reilly and get a new champion. The champion wasn't in there. That could make for an interesting story. So that was I liked that.
It just seemed they went to the well a little too much. So we would get Karrion Kross sidelined, and then we would get some fantastically choreographed movement between the other 3 or 4 guys in the ring, and then Karrion Kross would come back, clean house. And it just seemed like that was just the rotation of the night. We get Karrion Kross taken out again, and we get some more high spots. And these moves between these 4, just because they're so professional, they're so experienced, and they work so well together, it's just so smooth with these 4 guys. And then we get a bunch of double team moves going on between the 4 guys. Karrion Kross makes another comeback to do his power moves. All 4 guys at this point attack him. And Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, this was a pretty cool spot here. They team up, they join forces, end up slamming Karrion Kross into the announce table. And I think that table was supposed to collapse.
I like the underlying story of the begrudgingly them joining forces, where Adam Cole's like, come on, and Kyle O'Reilly doesn't want to join, and he's kind of like, but he knows it's for the greater good of himself to try and win this match. So that leads for a good storytelling post-match that you can go on now and tell the story with Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. So there was, seeds planted within this match to continue things with the other guys. Sometimes WWE's famous for throwing 5 guys into an elimination chamber match, for say, and you don't know why the other 4 are in there. The other 3.
Right.
So you might have 2 guys in there. You have the champion, the other guy who's possibly going to win, and the other 3 fillers. You could have picked the concessions guy, the janitor, and the bus driver. Could have all stood in the other chambers, right? WWE didn't do that on this one. And I was watching it and literally thinking, anybody could win and I'd be happy.
Right.
They could have taken the strap off of Karrion and put it on Adam or Kyle O'Reilly or Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, and it would have been, I'd have been happy and been like, dang, that was awesome. Or they could leave it on Karrion Kross and still feel it was awesome.
Right. Exactly. That was another thing they did right in that. And then this is, at this point, after Karrion Kross got put through the announce table, this is where it kind of fell apart for me. So you just got the musical chairs of high spots going on with these four guys. You got guys coming out of nowhere, just constant move after move after move. And granted, it is smooth and it looks good when they're doing it. Just too much. Every chance they got 3 or 4 guys all doing something to each other, all getting involved with each other. You got submissions going on in one corner, a guy flying out of screen left to do a drop kick out of the other. It's just too much. It went on. It seemed like it was going on forever, and it's just 100 miles an hour the entire time. And I get it; they're well conditioned, and it's exciting, and they're doing big moves. But there was no slowdown. The only slowdown was in Karrion Kross was in the ring, and then at that point, to be honest, it was kind of boring when Karrion Kross was involved.
Because they've spoiled it by going 1,000 miles an hour, so you couldn't sit and admire something else in the ring. I can feel that. It didn't so much catch me that way. I think, again, leading up to this match, I had been drifting on in and out of, like, I was getting bored at some points, and with other matches, that this one going 100 miles an hour, 5 guys flip-flying and flopping all over the place, it kept me really interested. So that was the good part about it, is that there was a lot of interest drawn in because there was a lot of stuff happening. The other matches didn't so much deliver all of that to me. So this made it feel real good. I was like, all right, what I've been waiting for, sink my teeth into this.
Right. It was high octane, and I get that high impact, high octane, pure excitement. But I think it was the lack of gradual slowdown and build. There was no slowdown. There was no buildup. It was either we're going 100 miles an hour or we're walking. And
so it just didn't have the good. So you're getting more to the good crossover of the two. Okay, I can agree with you on that. I can see where you're coming at on that.
We end up getting a 3-man submission going on. Karrion Kross does get back involved in this thing. He's choking out Kylo O'Reilly here, and Kylo's got an ankle lock on Adam Cole. And this is the ending of the match is approaching here because the other 2 guys are nowhere to be seen. No Johnny Gargano, no Pete Dunne. And you see Kylo fading out slowly. Adam Cole selling the shit out of this ankle lock here. And you're just thinking it's anybody's match here. It's either going to be Kylo or it's going to be Karrion Kross retaining here. And that was a very short spot, but that was where the excitement was because it really was. Who's going to win? Are they really going to put the strap on Kylo? Ultimately, Kylo starts passing out, releases his grip on Adam Cole's leg. Cole is too injured and beat up to really interfere in Karrion Kross's submission here. Kylo passes out. Karrion Kross retains.
You could 100% feel that this was the wrap of the match. I think anybody, not even so-called smart marks, could sit back and pick this out. Like, right? I mean, I'm just talking about anybody watching this would go, there was a vibe and a feel towards the end of this. And it was okay with me. It was a good spot to end it. It was time to go home. It was time to go home. I didn't think they were going to put the strap on Kyle O'Reilly. But I thought Adam Cole was going to tap because Kyle O'Reilly had been passed out but didn't let go of the lock. So it was going to be who won. It was going to be like a double elimination Royal Rumble thing, right? Kyle O'Reilly is literally passed out but still holding the ankle lock while he's being choked out, and then you get an Adam Cole tap. Well, did Adam Cole tap? He's unconscious, so does Karrion Kross win? And I thought they were going to lead into something with Kyle O'Reilly, them leading into another pay-per-view. Do you get what I'm saying? Like just a real swerve of an ending where it was like 2 referees. No, it was his tap that put I thought that would have been kind of fun.
It's both guys' feet touching the outside at the same time type of thing there. I could have definitely saw that coming. I could have also seen Adam Cole not wanting Karrion Kross to win and seeing what's going on behind him and just tapping so Kylo gets the belt.
And then he can continue that feud with Kyle O'Reilly, and then taking on, like they did, one more thing for the undisputed era, if you will, and then they're gonna go go head to head for the title, and that would have been an awesome storyline too.
Yeah, but lo and behold, Karrion Kross retains the title, and he's going to continue his feud with William Regal. Pure excitement, Brian Rampa.
But we do get the feud continuing with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, which will be great. Watching those two go at it, it would have been more interesting watching them go at it with the possibility of a championship. But we shall see. But all in all, this pay-per-view was okay. I watched it, but there was no real groundbreaking, oh my God moment. I mean, Cameron Grimes took that hell of a flat back bump off that ladder, which was amazing. Other than that, the last match was good. I like that, and then you kind of existed through the rest. For the price I paid, it was worth it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. For free $99, I'll take it all day. Shout out to Comcast for giving me free Peacock. And but this pay-per-view kind of went off the air in a non-traditional way. We are used to the match ends, you get the 1, 2, 3, you get the submission. Oh my God, we're out of time, folks. We'll catch up on Tuesday on NXT. No, we just kind of let it in flat. Karrion Kross retains, and then we're just in the back with William Regal walking out of the building, just sad, disheveled, beat down, and the interview girl asks him what's going on, and William Regal just says, too much bedlam going on. After 7 years, I've let it get out of control. And then that's how we go off the air, flatter than a plate full of piss.
They were really trying to build up to this William Regal's going to retire situation. And then if you watch NXT on Tuesday, he opens up the show coming out there telling the story. It's been 7 years. He's crying in the ring. He's wiping the tears away. And then, boom, tick-tock, Karrion Kross comes out to interrupt right at the moment he gets ready to say, I'm going to retire from being the GM. And then Samoa Joe comes out, and they try to hand the general manager storyline over to Samoa Joe, and he says, William Regal, I can't take that from you. I'm going to be your special enforcer, as we spoke about earlier in the beginning of the podcast. So that's how all that unraveled. They were trying to really sell this, that William Regal couldn't take it anymore, and somebody better needs to do the job. But it's not quite going to be that way. For now, I foresee this, Samoa Joe getting that full-on GM role, but he's going to beat up William Regal or something first.
Right. So I guess I was just taking it as a not every week NXT watcher. I felt it was kind of weird that they put the William Regal gimmick above the championship title.
That is strange. I was waiting for some type of surprise for the tune-in, right? Like,
right.
They've been teasing about, we've been hearing about the teases of Samoa Joe. I was like, maybe you just hear, dun, dun, dun. You hear the music, and then, like, Samoa Joe go across the screens, and then they're out. You're like, what the fuck was that about? I thought Samoa Joe was gone. Something like that, but it didn't leave you wanting that next thing, though. You're right that it did fall flat. That's the story. What I filled you in on was what they were trying to get across. Who cared as much? That's a good question. I don't know. I guess, am I invested that much into William Regal being the GM?
Exactly. What you said would have been the 100% way to do it. Let the Karrion Kross thing, he retains the championship. Let that kind of simmer for a second. Samoa Joe walks across the virtual audience screens, and you hear the dun, 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 the beginning of his music.
That's it.
And then you go off air.
He's like,
then
I got to watch.
You can't wait to tune in on Tuesday.
I got to watch Tuesday. Like, then, 100% you're all in. So there's a lot of things that I would like to have done, but then they don't do that anymore with those big teases going off the air. That was what, like, the Monday Night Wars was all about for me. What happened at the end of the WWE pay-per-view? What happened at the end of the WCW pay-per-view? How'd they go off of Nitro and Raw on Monday? Oh, my God. Like, you got to tune in next week. You got to be there the following night after the pay-per-view to see what the bedlam continues. But the WWE stepped away from that, and they kind of, release things that so-and-so is going to be at Monday Night Raw. Tune in. And then they try to draw the ratings in that way, but I guess it's a whole new world we live in.
A whole new world. But
Well-
yeah, that, ladies and gentlemen, was your NXT takeover in your house. Next week, we will be covering WWE's main show, Hell in the Cell.
Yeah.
Or, I guess, main show meaning Raw and SmackDown. Their pay-per-view, Hell in the Cell. That's going to be this upcoming Sunday, Father's Day. So make sure you tune in next Thursday for our review of Hell in a Cell.
Make sure you hop on all the social media, get on YouTube, join us on Facebook and Instagram and all the fun stuff. And we go live with this nonsense on Thursday nights, somewhere between 9:30 and 10. And so hop on and hang out with us and talk some pro wrestling. And that is that. This is the KayFabe Smark podcast. And make sure you like, subscribe, and join us on all social media. Eric, what do you have for us?
And never forget, we're Thursday night. We're done talking wrestling, and that only means one thing, Brian. That means hooty hoo. We out the gates.
Wow.